Paula Rowe, and this is Global Unified Breathing. And thank you and welcome. So, today, as you can see, the name of this program is Breathing in Truth, Simplicity, and Love. And how that came to me was for some reason, there was something that kept coming into my consciousness over and over again. And it reminded me of my journey with breathwork. In 1988, I was, as you know, from the beginning of this program, I was telling you about how I had a closed head injury. And they tell you that where you'll be 3 years after your accident is where you'll stay, pretty much. And to me, I know at that moment I felt like, oh, that didn't sound very good, because I could feel that as the days went on from my accident, that I was becoming it was getting harder to remember things. I knew that I knew things, but I didn't know how to do things that I was told. It was something that you've known your whole life. I heard that over and over. You've known this your whole life, like how to get in a car and drive and find your way home after you've found your way to a place. I mean, I constantly was having moments of no memory, and it was pretty scary. But what happened is after I had that experience with an injury to the brain like that, my brain also, and I think, this might have even been the pathway that was supposed to open up, it was starting to reveal things to me that I didn't know how I knew what I knew. And I knew that a world was kind of opening up. And even though it was quite frightening, I would always try to expand on what I was becoming aware of. And one of the things was getting into breath work and really feeling in my heart that this was something that was really going to help me. And that was by reading the first book that I was given one day, called Rebirthing in the New Age. I read the book in one afternoon. I got up and went to the phone on the wall and called the number in the back. And then I was quite a few thousand miles away from my house. I had somebody take me back home, and I packed a bag and I got a paper map, and I mapped my way to drive myself to Chicago. And that was my first experience with breath work, and it was quite profound. Another part of my consciousness opened up completely, and the message was exciting and profound, and it led me to believe that I was definitely to continue. And so one of the things that happened when I decided to experience this on another level with a group, that I was introduced to an ascended master, a Maha avatar by the name of Babaji. And I was fascinated, but I was also familiar. At the same time, reading about this extraordinary being, I realized that something about it seemed really familiar. It made my heart really happy. And I remember reading and buying every single little book from those people that were with Babaji in the 70s. And Leonard Orr, who was my teacher, my very first teacher of breath work, rebirthing at that time, um, had been with Babaji, and so had Sandra Ray, and they also had books. And Physical Immortality, the pictures by that book by Leonard Orr, the pictures of Babaji in that book, I kept buying the book, cutting out the pictures and putting them in frames, and just had them all over and surrounded myself. And then one day I was told that I could write a letter and send it to him at the ashram. So he left his body in 84, which really shocked a lot of people. An immortal master who leaves his body. But to me, I understood it as he's leaving this particular body and will be coming back. And if you know the story a little bit about Babaji, he had to go in front of the courts in India and prove that he was old Haidakhan Babaji, which had been on the planet at the ashram in the Himalayas in 1860 to 1922. He proved to the judge that it was indeed him, and that he had returned in this other body when they found him in a cave in 1970. So it was only from 70 to 84 that he made such an impact on the world and in our part of the world. Steve Jobs was a famous person at that time who went to the ashram to study with him because he really wanted to understand. And, I don't know how long he was there, but I know that he said it profoundly changed his life. And, Babaji had said, that he would be leaving his body. He told everyone that, there was a statement that he made: my body is meant to dry up one day. This body is nothing. It is here only to serve people. Even my own body has come to perform a duty to serve all human and all living things. And Babaji introduced breathwork to Leonard Orr and Sandra at that time. And it was an amazing blessing for our part of the world when they brought this particular breathing technique, wrote books about it, and developed it across the world now. And there are many, many offshoots of rebirthing, and there are many other types of breath work. Global Unified Breathing, this program, isn't about anything specific. That just so happens to be my training in the beginning, but I have had other teachers. And the reason that I even am talking about this today is because I was reminded of something that happened to me. And so in 1989, almost 1990, I wrote the letter to the ashram, and I asked Babaji for a list like a little kid of things that I wanted to be removed from me. And those, at that time, the list was filled with characteristics that I realized that breath work was bringing to the surface for me to release. And it was getting quite hairy at the time because it really showed me the power of the breath. And so I had this list of, being resentful and being sad and, whatever emotions that at that time I felt were going to stand in the way. And most of it was the kind of things that we carry in our bodies at a cellular level, sometimes from lifetime to lifetime, because we feel that they're part of our identity. But the soul itself, none of this really matters. But because it was such an impactful thing, just think of poverty consciousness. If you spent lifetimes in a certain kind of environment where poverty consciousness was really embedded in you, and that you really believed that this was the only way, it wouldn't surprise me when somebody breathes that they start recognizing how they do that same thing in this lifetime. So here was my list to Babaji of, I didn't have enough faith. I didn't feel I was improving my life. I wanted my full memory back. It was a long, long list. And needless to say, when I would sit in, I had an altar. I've always had an altar in my home. And at that time, I was also a student of the Course of Miracles. And so I had no idea what to expect by writing this letter at all. I just kept, thinking about it a lot and talking to Babaji. And I was woken up one night, and I think I remember it was about 3 or 3:15 in the morning a.m. And at that time I lived in the South. And when I looked over to the doorway, the door frame, Babaji was standing there. I could see through his body. I could see that he was transparent. And he was smiling, and he had his hand on his heart, and he was just standing there. And I just remember looking at him, thinking to myself, oh my gosh, you came. And it was like, I don't know, maybe a minute. And I just looked at him, and I picked my head up from the pillow, and I just stared at him, and he stared at me. And then all I remember after that was waking up the next morning, and then all of a sudden going, oh my gosh, like it was really something. And I was filled with such gratitude, and I felt such a truth. And Babaji's 3 words for us always, and he said, I always come when humanity is in dire need of the principles that I teach: truth, simplicity, and love. So these things might sound really easy, but that was quite a profound, and sorry about getting all choked up. It was quite an experience, and it really, I won't ever forget it, but from time to time I'm reminded. And I was reminded this week about the way the things are in the outer world is truth, simplicity, and love. And those of us that understand the need right now to really do our own inner work, and breath work is one of those ways, and it is the way for me, is that I started thinking about Babaji has got to be back in a body. He's got to have taken a body now. He can see what we need for a Maha avatar at this time to give us hope. But also, he left us with words. So as I was looking on the internet, I come across a woman in Russia who was receiving messages from Babaji for the 21st century. And as I'm reading this, at first I was like, oh, okay, I'm not quite sure about any of this, but it was really fascinating, and it really touched me. And the purpose of his message is, he's back, is to wake up those who are still able to be awakened from the sweet dream of the illusion. So if you think about what that is, are able to be awakened. So some of us are not able to be awakened. And I think we probably all know some people who are in a dream world. They have no idea. Sometimes some of us have too many ideas. And so, somewhere in there is the real truth. And it is simple and it is love. And so today, when we're breathing, because I'd like us to go into a little bit of breath work, is I'd like us to be aware about that, reminding ourselves about our existence, in that we know in the bigger story, in our universe, that the only way for us to make it through this is to return to source, which is inside of us. And whatever you think that is, it's a feeling in your heart when you know that you have merged with the divine presence of who and what you really are, not the false self. So there's always work to be done. And, right now it is a lot of work. Yes, namaste. Namaste. The simplicity of breath, it really is simple. And it really does expand the love that we can hold, that frequency that we can hold inside of ourselves. And also it brings us to the truth. No wonder, that this is something that is global, that goes around the world. What we need right now is to remember the truth of who and what we really are, and to drop away and allow all the illusions, Babaji calls the sweet dreams of illusions, and allow ourselves to merge with the truth of our own divinity, our eternal self. So false self is barricading, trying to barricade itself inside of us. But with perseverance and tools, there's this week, especially this week building up to November 11th. And please send me an email at globalunifiedbreathing@gmail.com if you'd like the link for the Zoom meeting. We're going to be breathing globally on the 11/11 in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. And so right now, I'd like us to just breathe. Okay, so breath work can lead to an emotional and physical release. It's not advised if you've had any cardiovascular disease or heart attack, any retinal detachment, or any significant recent physical injury or surgery. So I am going to go ahead and please breathe with me. So this means spine straight, sitting up or laying down. And we're going to start. And I know Babaji is really, really happy. It's good to talk about this. It brings a really high energy, especially here. So it's very good. Just relax and focus all your attention on your breath. Focus all on the inhale and the exhale. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing out. Just relax and breathe. Breathing in, breathing out. Deep breath energize the body. If you have an area of your body that is uncomfortable, breathe right into it. Bring your awareness wherever you need healing. As you breathe, try to stay in the rhythm of the breath. And on the inhale, imagine that this is platinum white light. Breathing all this platinum white light. Exhaling all discomfort as you breathe in and out. Becoming more energized. The will of God is light. The will of God is love. The will of God is good. The will of God is grace. The will of God is peace. The will of God is purity. I am God's will. I am God's will of light. I am God's will of grace. I am God's will of peace. I am God's will of purity. I am God's will of balance. Keep breathing and bringing your awareness just to your breath. Breathing in the platinum light. Becoming more energized. Breathing out all discomfort. Being aware of the breath. The will of God. Nice and easy. Energizing the body. The will of God is purity. The will of God is peace. I hope you were able to breathe just a little. I know we don't have a lot of time, but it was more important to breathe in all these things that we just discussed about Babaji and about the blessings and the gifts that he brings to us no matter what, whether he is taking a body again or not. There are those that say he has. I'm so grateful to having had my experience that I did. It changed my life. One of the things, there's so many things that changed my life and made me love the breath. And so the power of the breath coming in from source now. Remember, between now is the 7th. By the 9th, we're really going to be peaking. And the 11th, we're going to be in an energetic that's almost going to feel like we flipped. So be really conscious about where your breath is and take a few minutes every day to just stop and breathe out the discomfort and breathing in the platinum white light, breathing in the will of God, breathing in the love of God, breathing in the peace of God, breathing in the purity of God. When we do these things and walk out into the world, we are pillars of that. I love breathing in the light. I know. Yes, that's really beautiful. I know. It's so exciting, really. I mean, it energizes your body and it makes you realize, that this power that we have, all living things breathe. All living things breathe. Where do we think we get that breath from? It's not just about the oxygen. It's about the source, the life force, the source energy, and the particles that are on that energy. One of my other teachers would always talk about the moisture of the breath, because the particles of energy, the water moisture within the body, how much percentage of our body is water? Is that is live. It's live. So it's really amazing to think about all things that can receive this type of energy. All things can. So remember, this week, today is Sunday, as we're building towards Thursday, the 11/11, please take moments to breathe. Send me an email at globalunifiedbreathing@gmail.com or my other website, soulawakeningproject@aol.com. Reach out, give me your thoughts, your wisdom, your love, and I'll love you right back. And I really hope that this week we all remember that we're in a pivotal point. That's, I really believe, why Babaji I felt like he wanted the show. He wanted to come on and talk to you and to tell you to remember truth, simplicity, and love. These concepts are not that out of the range of things that we can remember. And I love you more. So thank you for joining me today. Remember the light of God. Remember that the will of God is light. The will of God is love. And I'll see you all next week.